Hello everybody, thanks for tuning in again. Tonight I decided to read a bunch of old poetry. It's so old that I don't even like most of it. Although I do tend to be a little hard on myself, which I think a lot of writers do share. Some of the stuff dates back to 2005, which is when I first started making zines to self-publish my writing and share it locally. The first booklet I ever made was called Sleeping on a Cliff. I called it this because when I was in Nelson, British Columbia, I had a very special night where a friend and I did sleep on a cliff. So I sort of obviously picked that name because it was important. So I'm going to read a few from that and a few from various different booklets that I've made, and I will try to remember to name the titles of those booklets as I go along. Now, a lot of these, actually no, I won't say anything, I won't criticize myself, because who cares. So this first one's called Skeleton Dance. Sometimes I have no oxygen from living in the sea, where my voice is just bubbles that confuse even myself. The fish in the sea pass me by, for I am still as a rock, while waves peel my layers away until I am bones. Sometimes I am bones because my skin has died from never being touched. My infant soul digests my afflicted mind when it is offered nothing more. Sometimes I stand within myself, feeling around a windowless room where nothing escapes. I am driven endlessly mad due to recurring nightmares that come and go to remind me that I will always be bones. Bones until my bones die too. And that was from 2005. And now we're jumping ahead to 2008. A lot of these I've selected to put into a book I'm making of all the writing I like of mine from the last 10 years. So I've been very selective, possibly too selective. I do have my friend Michael Castiles from Puzzle Sky Press sort of helping me through selecting poems, because it's good to have someone else who sees your work and likes it and isn't as judgmental, because they aren't you. So I think with his help there'll be a lot more substance in the book. If it was up to me, there'd barely be anything in it. So this is from a booklet called Scapes. And the first one is called Harwood, like Harwood, Ontario. Sometime during the night, we let a cat leak into the church. Crazy that the door was actually open. Are we next to enter? You weren't afraid because it was dark inside. You said it was the light. This is called All Coming Back. Eyes adjusting to the outside. How many days has it been? No, really. Cracked and likely bloody lips. Do they ever heal? When they part, they ask for a slice of pizza. I'm short 25 cents, but they don't send me home. This is from the same year, from a booklet called Right Through You. Some of these are kind of haiku-esque, but they're not formatted specifically that way, but they kind of have the essence of it. And there's a few of them called Documentary of a Glimpse. So here's the first one called Documentary of a Glimpse. Crow, using its beak, twists branches off trees. Just lets them drop. Second one, same name. Saw a groundhog near the road when leaving town. On the way home, it didn't survive the trip. This one's called Jungle. 5 careening, fun, energized through downtown on 2 wheels. Can barely see a thing on these riverside paths. Something's going down in the bushes. You'll never see us, only smoke. We're taking a left here, then pumping straight for a few blocks. Let the bikes fall, get up in the trees. From 2009, this booklet's called Lost Transmissions, and this poem's called The Knot, N-O-T, not K-N-O-T. A door closes unnoticed, sealing off the connection between you and another. You burn the back alleys of your memory uncontrollably. You see what you want behind countless lost days and cannot touch it. Time is an esophagus swallowing what you wish to love. Apparently I didn't list these chronologically, so now we're jumping back to 2005. And this is from a booklet called Androidness Live, which I had actually turned into, it was like, not a graphic novel, but every page was a comic book, and between those pages were poems, and it was like a poetry reading comic book. This one's called Rasta's House. When I was in Penticton, British Columbia, I was just there to like pick fruit and stuff. Didn't really have too many places to stay. I can't remember if this was before or after I was on the farm, but this nice guy named Rasta, who was actually a friend of Shane Koizan's, and I kind of like, I didn't really get to meet Shane, but it was interesting because I saw him and he was there, and I didn't know about him, and now he's like fairly well known. So this is about Rasta. He kind of took me and my friend in for the day or two, let us sleep on his yard, and this is kind of just a brief view of that time. So Rasta's house. Stove clock dead at 7:50. A cactus, sunflower, and toaster on your kitchen table. Dusty water in a vase. Sleeping in your yard, I hear crying babies. See dreams of Nelson, BC in your eyes. Now we're jumping ahead to 2011 to a booklet called A Good Birth. Apparently I didn't put the title for this one here, and I don't even know what the title is, so I'll just read this. Your dust is settling into the soot of the lake. It's dark, and you're scattered all over. You would swim if your muscles rubbed over your bones. You would breathe if you could cough up the water. You would breach surface if you knew it broke. You're convinced things are as you see them. I apologize, and I hope you'll excuse me for 1 second. The light from the doorway is actually kind of distracting me for some reason. My apologies. I hope you didn't go away. Now from 2009, this booklet is called Magic in Hain. I was in a phase at this point where I like to kind of borrow things from various cultures and different poetic styles. So each poem in this booklet had a different poetic form, like a classical form, or just a known format. This poem is called A Walk Without the Sun. The spirited girl, face speckled by rain, shadowed by hood, crowns twilight with her glow. Feel all the still. 2 skunks scurry, but look, No cars after 3 a.m. We, in the middle of the road, discuss nothingness, picturing only a flat black offness, realizing, no, that's still something. How nice that we can't answer the question, standing relaxed in the intersection. Tonight carries traits of dreams. Experimental truth proves it real, and meaning clings like dew to the web-like relationships of all these momentary things. The spirited girl, speckled by rain, shadowed by hood, has shared her love of death with me. This one's called Out. Should I speak its name to you? Can I take you to hear the sounds somewhere deep and forgotten? We can link ourselves to the roots of all things, ideally with moon glistening on the spikes and rises of flowing water. Leave silence to be taken care of by crickets, their song constant in the warm air that I have not felt in so long. Can I take you to hear the sounds somewhere deep and forgotten? This one's called Scrape and Try. What's been done with these hands that they are rough as sand to hold? Forgiveness, I am told, is a cleansing age-old water. Where's the source? The river. Heard it's a clear treasure, living hope, never receding from its banks, slithering in and through us. Please take this sand. In my night and day, whatever direction I face, river's sound gurgles opposite. Feet are sore from searching. Please take this sand. I'm gonna slow it down a bit. I don't want to rush through this too much. It's interesting reading a lot of these because I can't remember if I read them when I originally wrote them. And back in these years, I was doing a lot of poetry readings in Peterborough. And I was thinking that on the way home that I know when I'm writing stuff now how it sounds to me when I write it. So it's easier to read the new stuff because I can kind of translate it easier. As where, you know, this old stuff, I don't remember what my inner voice was like when I wrote it. So now I'm reading it. Maybe it's similar, but I don't think I have the same voice as I used to. It's interesting to think about. This one's called Unplugged. Connecting our fingers makes a quilt of skin, while candles flicker silhouette shapes across the wall. I look right in your eyes and see intriguing stardust shimmering. You sprinkle some of your touch over my skin, bursts to life, almost like the first time. You are too many phenomena to categorize. No book will I write summarizing your surprises. I found them there. I'll leave them there. I found them there. I'll leave them there with you. This one's called The Obvious Result. When we grew from the same ground, I poured us filthy water. Now there is little sound. The heart she nurtured fought her. Care not for this voice. Its host smacks continuously into a wall. The presence of ruin is product of harmful choice. Floppy rubber man has shaky hands. Keep your eyes averted. Do not look at all. Care not for this voice. Absence greeted you when you touched me. You need not spare forgiveness. Fledgling thoughts on a withering branch, conceiving the trap of an unbreakable fall. The presence of ruin is product of harmful choice. Responsible for a failed love's length. I wish, pray, and call, care not for this voice. The presence of ruin is product of harmful choice. Now these are some poems from a booklet called Shapeshifters. I think this was from around 2011. Excuse me. Or 2012. I didn't write the year down, so I'm not quite sure. But this one's called Scissors to Blindfold. My head spins when reckoning the bird's eye view of this mess. It's hard to see, I'm told. When the mold is washed from consciousness, I'm in the light breaking through clouds. Scissors to blindfold. Cutting eye holes where the blindness stems, receiving exiled spectrums as light is bending. It's hard to see, I'm told. Gamma grows in pockets where the sun can reach, exposing finer details that once were wilting. Scissors to blindfold. These next several are from a booklet called Future Cities from 2012. The first one's called Straight Lines. A voice is thrown into soundproof dead ends. Does the air still reach lungs? You scrawl away a note for tide to lap up. Does the air still reach lungs? We try to grow ourselves in salted soil. Does the air still reach lungs? Look for the trampled gaze of synthetic contact. Patches of numbness stroke the head tilted back. I feel the glow that followed me home from the shore. Look for the trampled gaze of synthetic contact. Does the air still reach lungs? You want to sleep away the ghosts you discharge. Walk out on all the tables of meals you leave cold. Portraits of profiles, two-dimension coloring. Face full of tangles, the silence interrupting grins. Look for the trampled gaze of synthetic contact. This one's called 60 Watts. You run around with a tungsten filament, trying to revive a burnt-out light source. Perhaps the thought of disappearing illuminates when you charge the coil. More to this grapevine than I'm privileged. I'll grab my shears, keep the chatter short. Before rust overcomes my body, before the rush washes over me, I'll spin the dials of my radio until I find you. After the continents have shifted, bridging my world with photographs. After the places we stay vacate, opening the door to rats, I'll spin the dials of my radio until I find you. And now we're going back to 2005 again, from a booklet called Bird's Eye View. And I consider this poem the kind of comic relief of my upcoming book. It's called Peanut Butter and Honey. I can't stop thinking about peanut butter and honey. It runs like a sweet tooth luring siren mudslide over the edges of the bread, glazing my fingers. landing on the small white plate and into my sticky mouth, muted by satisfaction. Looks like it's time for more. Now to 2008, here's a poem from a booklet called The Burning Ones. It's called Conditions. If I tell you everything, promise you'll keep a secret. If I let you in, will you burn the bridges of your tongue? And that, I believe, is all the old selections I have. Although my friend Michael has a few more that he sent me, that he selected. So while I'm at it, maybe I'll just pull those up and read a few of them too. Just give me a second here, I need to go into my email. Here we go. And I'll link the Positive Press website again. It's based in Kingston. And my friend Michael's doing a really awesome job and helps a lot of writers. And has learned a lot. I once made a booklet called Baboon, and the writing in it, a lot of it was just meant to be nonsense or sound sort of like, I guess if you wanted to say it in almost a cartoony sense, like a caveman. The first one's called Language Thing. English Language Blown Out Edition, Deluxe Set. Deluxe. Fuck. Love the sound of that one. Trigger me saliva drips. This one's called Jungle Fever. Jesse Bowen, if you watch this video, you'll like this one. And Gorillas Will Beat a Bear. I've told people they'd be in trouble if 200 gorillas came running down a hill at them, ready to punch and roll military vehicles into tents. Honestly. You see, stuff like this, I can't remember what I was thinking, or why. But I'm glad that I wrote these. This one's called Graveyard Thigh. Excuse me. Let go of my leg. Let go of my legs. Let go of my leg. Let go of my legs. Let go of my leg. Let go of my legs. That's all the selections from Baboon. Here's a few from a booklet called Bad Examples. I done a bad thing, I tells ya. Don't know if I can hurt your pretty ears giving you the story. I know you'd like to hear it and all, but it churns my gut. Just a thinking about it, you might not like me. The same. Sorry, I messed it up. I want to restart it. I done a bad thing, I tells ya. Don't know if I can hurt your pretty ears giving you the story. I know you like to hear it all, but it churns my gut just a thinking about it. You might not like me the same if you knew I done a bad thing, I tells ya. This one's called Birds, with a U instead of an I for some reason. Pigeons land elephantly. Windowsill, bedroom, creep up, caddish. Watch throat rainbows. I think that's enough for this video. It's interesting reading things that are so old. You know, I like more what I write now than I did then. And it's weird that those poems paved the way for the stuff I write now, is I feel like there's such... they have almost nothing in common. And it makes me wonder, you know, 10 years from now, when I look back on what I'm writing now, I hope there is the same difference, because I like to evolve myself. And what I do is, when I make these zines, these little booklets, I use them as a way to move on. You know, I'll have this sort of phase of poetry and I'll finalize it by producing it. And then I move on. I try to do something different for the next one. And sometimes it's minor differences, but I mean, over the course of a long period of time, all those minor differences, when you look at point A to point B, it's a big difference. And I feel like it's a good strategy for writing, to kind of have a way to say, okay, this is the end of that, this is the beginning of this, let's go, you know? So, thanks for watching. This is probably one of my longer videos. I haven't checked it, but, you know, who cares? Anyway, if you haven't yet, subscribe, because I love, you know, feedback. I love to be connected to people who enjoy writing. So, I hope you have a good weekend, and thanks for tuning in.